There's another question about reverbs. Dylan asked, discrete versus shared reverb sends on vocals, lead versus backgrounds, or do you have like master reverbs, or not just for you, but how do you get them presented to you? Or are people usually having one reverb for the lead vocals, one reverb for all vocals, one reverb for the whole track? Presumably it depends. I've certainly had it in all kinds of different configurations, but do you have thoughts on that generally?
I don't know.
I feel like a lot of times if an instrument needs to have a particular sound and create a space for it, sometimes like a mono spring reverb to make a sound sit there. But generally, I like to not have too many different reverbs swimming around. Sometimes a few different delays that will ride up and down depending on the part, or certainly reverb throws or delay throws are kind of a different thing. But in terms of overall, I try, like we talk about with a lot of things, the more you can achieve with fewer ingredients or fewer moves, the better off you are. So I try to keep it minimal if possible.
I'm a big fan of duplicating the track and messing with a reverb or an effect on it instead of setting to a bus. So I'll take a synth that I think needs more reverb or more space, and I'll duplicate it, and I'll just put a reverb on it, and I'll adjust the fader level and sculpt that shape with the track right below it. I'll just color code it a little different so I can see it. So that's the way I go about things. That's a bit of a unconventional approach. I don't really make many reverb sends. I only have about 4 effect sends, or 5 maximum in my template. Eighth note delay, quarter note delay, half note delay, H3000, and 1 Berkasti reverb that I like. And a lot of times they don't get used because I just duplicate. But so like 5 out of 10 times, none of them get used. 7 out of 10 times, only the reverb gets used. And then like 2 out of 10 times, I'll add delays as well with them. But a lot of the times I dupe and create my own spaces around instruments and vocals. I'll dupe background vocals and harmonies and put a delay on them instead of using one of the ones I have in the template. So I'm more of a every mix is different kind of thing. And every sound wants its own thing.
That's actually I had not thought of it this way. We talk so much about, okay, don't just reach for a compressor if you're trying to contain the dynamic range. Like, to do dynamic range compression, you don't have to use a compressor. You can use clip gain and saturation and clip effects and a limiter. And there's all different ways to do it that might be better than a compressor, which was the only way to do it 40 years ago, from the beginning of recording up until about 40 years ago, maybe 30 years ago. I had not thought that using reverb and delay sends is actually a thing from having not a lot of channels on a console, from having sends on a console. There actually might be better ways to do that, where unless you have a track limit, but those of us, I mean, I'm speaking only to the sort of beginners, but if you have any of these programs, you have essentially unlimited tracks. Why not just use 100% reverb send on a duplicate of whatever you want reverb on and adjust it from there? I'm going to start doing that more. I didn't think about that because sends, I'm so used to it because I learned from a guy who mixed on consoles, and now I do it in Pro Tools, which really Pro Tools was built to be a virtual console. But if you, if you don't approach it from, okay, we have, 6 sends because it's a console and however many returns, you can actually just make an individual reverb track or delay track for anything you want to reverb delay on. I'm going to start doing that more. That's actually a great approach. One quick geeky technical thing with that though is for plugin delay compensation issues with different manufacturers of plugins. When you duplicate with all the plugins on, and then do work after. Do like render it. Do a commit the track or something like that.
I just duplicate it with plugins, so it's the same phase. It's the same delay compensation. I haven't experienced it too much because I don't use UAD plugins anymore. But with UAD, there was a lot of phasing issues on duplicates without having the plugin. So I don't use UAD at all. So I haven't noticed it, but that's out of habit. I would just check that when you're duping, keep your plugins on, and then effect after the fact.
Thanks for watching. Just a reminder, all of this content is free. There's no secret knowledge here. We don't have sponsors. We don't run ads. We don't have a Patreon. All that we ask in return is that you share it with somebody. Thanks.